Welcome to the Kuwait Foundation for the Advancement of Sciences, KFAS podcast. My name is Yusuf المزيدي. I'm Manager of Communications. Kuwait Foundation for the Advancement of Sciences was established in 1976 by an Emiri decree issued by His Highness the late Emir Sheikh Jabir al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah. KFAS aims to advance science, technology, and innovation in Kuwait. Today we have a special guest, Professor Toby from the London School of Economics and Political Sciences. Professor Dodge is a professor of international relations and also serves as the director of the Kuwait program at LSE and the director of the Middle East Center. Thank you, Professor Dodge, for making the time to be with us. Perhaps we can start off by the most important question. What is the Kuwait program at the LSE?
That's a great question. And I think what the Kuwait program is the vehicle for an exchange of policy-relevant knowledge between Kuwaiti academics and LSE academics for the benefit of the Kuwaiti population, the Kuwaiti government, the Kuwaiti private sector, and the Kuwaiti civil society. That's basically it, and we do that through two different vehicles. Basically, academic exchange of policy-relevant research. I think we fund with KFAS's support research projects that bring together research collaborations between LSE academics and Kuwaiti academics. They're competitive. These groups compete against each other to get the money, and then they launch research into problems faced by Kuwaiti society. This could be healthcare delivery, could be global warming, it could be diversifying the Kuwaiti economy, regulating the Kuwaiti economy. There's a diversity of things that we work on. And the second thing, which I think is equally beneficial to Kuwait, Kuwaiti universities, Kuwaiti academics, Kuwaiti research institutes, is we bring on 3-month fellowships for Kuwaiti academics a year to the London School of Economics, where they work with our global leading research institutes. They take the knowledge that they get there and bring it back to Kuwait, again, to problem solve issues that the Kuwaiti government, Kuwaiti economy, Kuwaiti civil society are wrestling with. So it's all focused on Kuwait, and KFAS and the Kuwait program is a vehicle to deliver LSE expertise into solving Kuwaiti problems, but also to deliver Kuwaiti academics into LSE, to tell LSE, to educate LSE about the case study of Kuwait and the issues that it faces.
That's very interesting, Professor. I want to start by asking about the fellowship program, because there's always interest. It's one of the components of the program that every year sees a large number of applicants and growing interest from the young early career researchers. You've experienced fellows that have done their fellowship remotely, perhaps during COVID, or perhaps in other modalities of fellowships. And you've always insisted on the importance of having them on the ground. Can you compare and contrast the differences in the outputs of being physically on the ground, interacting versus remotely?
That's a great question. I think the perfect model would be a young Kuwaiti academic, with her or his family or not, would stay on campus or near campus and would have access to everything that LSE has to offer. Firstly, LSE, I would say this, but I think it's probably true, has the best library in Britain. It's a superb social science library, and it has a globally competitive faculty. So what we try and do is identify Kuwaiti academics who have a knowledge base that is also reciprocated or reflects the knowledge base in the School of Economics. So the two things I know best are health policy. So a lot of Kuwaiti academics working in health policy or sustainable development, urban development, architecture come for 3 months. Now those, during COVID, obviously, we're all still, I think, processing the trauma that was COVID. During COVID, that program had to stop, and it was then virtually delivered. Now, what was lost there, I think, firstly, coming to London, a wonderful place to be, coming to LSE, which is, as you know yourself, having been on campus, it's a very intense, compact place. At the centre, it's often said that the London School of Economics campus sits between the City of London, global hub for finance capital, and Westminster, the oldest democracy in the world. So you have politics to one side of the campus, economics to the other, and us in the middle, and Kuwaiti fellows there as well. So I think just being there is great, but you also have a global faculty working across all of the social sciences. We're famous for our economics and business departments, also our international relations department, but also these specific research institutes which develop policy relevant expertise that is directly of interest and benefit to Kuwaiti civil society, to Kuwaiti government, to the Kuwaiti economy. And that's the unique selling point. Young academics come to us and work specifically on policy relevant problems that LSE can help them develop solutions to.
I want to delve into the policy relevant research that you're talking about, specifically on the cycle of ending the research with actionable policy recommendations. But before we get into that, let's talk about the source of the research. Looking at the Kuwait program's research priority themes, they are very much aligned to Kuwait's national priorities. I wonder if that was a coincidence. Obviously not. How has the LSE Kuwait program been able to align with the Kuwait's national?
Well, I think there's two reasons. There's two reasons they have aligned. Firstly, we're in constant dialogue with KFAS, and the themes change. If not year by year, then certainly every few years. That we look at Kuwait, and we also look at our expertise, and we say to KFAS, well, there's clearly a problem, say, with global warming and environmental sustainability. We have the world's leading research institutes, the Grantham Institute on global warming. Why don't we look at encourage Kuwaitis to come to Grantham and do research? And we've done that. But also we have LSE Health, which has done extended work over many years with both private and public health providers in Kuwait. And I think every time I come to Kuwait, I meet incredibly bright, motivated young Kuwaitis working in the field of health delivery that have spent months and sometimes years researching with LSE Health and delivering expertise. LSE Cities, again, working on urban sustainability. Kuwait City is certainly a big urban conurbation with housing issues, transport issues. Kuwaiti academics have come to LSE and worked on policy solutions to solve those problems. So if we look at the ones the research themes we have improving and developing education. We have a crucial one that's been running for a long time, diversifying the economy, obviously moving away from state-led development to the private sector and encouraging research and development in the private sector. We have environmental policy. We have developing regulation and legal policy, and as said, we have health. We have digital transformations. We have diversifying energy sources in the oil-rich economy. We had some really fascinating and possibly counterintuitive research on developing the use of electric cars in Kuwait. Now, that was pioneered by Kuwaiti academics coming to LSE, saying to LSE academics, you know nothing about Kuwait. We're the experts on Kuwait, but you do know about global economic sustainability. Let's share our knowledge. Let's exchange our knowledge. You can use Kuwait as a case study. We can use your global expertise. And the benefit directly is empirically rich, policy relevant publications for Kuwaiti government.
So I've read several outputs from the Kuwait program, and many of them were heavy on empirical evidence. Some had mathematical models. And so the misconception comes that social sciences versus natural sciences, how do you balance that intersect? How's an evidence-based social sciences research feed into the natural sciences?
I think, firstly, there isn't a dichotomy. The Grantham Institute for the Study of Global Warming, when we move through the academics that Kuwaitis have access to when they come to LSE, you have physical geographers, so basically natural scientists working on the physical environment. You have human geographers, social scientists, all of them working together. The whole point of the Grantham Institute is that it mixes social and natural sciences. Again, we move to LSE health. So you have people working on problems of policy, of health delivery, but then draw in expertise from medical research as well as expertise from sociology, from studies. So I think it's in this case, it's a positive hybrid model which takes the best of the natural sciences, but let's be clear, LSE is mainly a social science institution, interprets them through social science, but crucially for the Kuwait program and for the Kuwaiti government, then develops a policy relevant publications that says, we've identified this problem in Kuwait. It's Kuwaitis that have identified this problem. We've identified global best practice for solving this problem. And if the Kuwaiti government, the Kuwaiti private sector, Kuwaiti civil society wants to solve this problem, this is what Kuwaitis and LSE academics jointly suggest you should do.
Thank you. What advice do you give to researchers that you are mentoring when it comes to developing policy recommendations, especially that policymakers and decision makers usually their time resources are very limited when it comes to reading lengthy academic outputs. So what advice do you give them on how to make it more readable to the decision maker?
Very diplomatically put, I've been advising policymakers all of my academic career. I've also been writing incredibly long, dense, and my mother would say very dull publications. So the two are different. They're two different disciplines. I think, as you said, you have to accept that policymakers are very time constrained. And also they look at what you give them and they're very instrumental. What am I going to get out of this quickly? So you need to show that you're an expert, that you have the depth empirical work that makes your suppositions defendable, falsifiable, that makes them anchored into the wider literature, but you need to hit them with very short, very focused, and also very digestible policy solutions. You have this problem. We realize you're constrained by these issues, societal, political, economic, and this is how you deal with this problem, recognizing those constraints. So bang, 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 very quick, very focused, but behind that, a depth research and a depth knowledge, which means your academic colleagues, over many hundreds of thousands of words, can look at what you've done and say, I disagree with that, or I agree with that, but I know that it's anchored into the world's innovative research. So there is a tension, undoubtedly a tension there. You have to give the policymakers solutions that they can quickly digest and realize the benefit of, but those solutions have to be anchored into depth research and writing that the policymakers will never see, but know that they're there, and the policymakers that realize that the research is legitimate because of the depth.
Okay, let's move upstream in the research generation river, if you will. So the Kuwait program at the LSE announces a call for proposals, or a call for interest, to express interest in its research funding program. How does, if you can walk me through steps as simple as possible, how does a young early career Kuwaiti researcher start? How do they apply? What things do they have to look out for to increase their chances of securing funding?
Excellent. Well, firstly, I come to Kuwait frequently. As I've just spent the last 3 or 4 days doing, I move through Kuwaiti universities in term time and outside term time, explaining, promoting, advertising the Kuwait program. So what we're constantly trying to do is raise the profile of the Kuwait program and raise knowledge of it amongst Kuwaiti academics. Secondly, I was reading it yesterday, we have a developed clear website which lays out everything that we want. Once a year, we will then issue a call for research proposals. Now, this is technically a little bit difficult, so we're aware of that and we aid that. So Kuwaiti academics in research proposals need to form partnerships with LSE academics. So we, as the Kuwait program, have a central role in matchmaking. So a Kuwaiter would come to me or my colleague, Mercedes Masters, and say, I'm really interested in the prevalence of diabetes in Kuwait and how to sort it out. And we say, we happen to have 20 academics in LSE that are interested in diabetes, or I'm interested in flood defenses in Kuwait. Say, we happen to have 6 or 7 academics working on that. Why don't I introduce you to them and set up a discussion? And out of that discussion becomes a short initial proposal, 1 or 2 pages. And that would be a joint piece of work between the Kuwaiti academic and the LSE academic, but it would be deliberately designed to be brief and to highlight any problems and any issues, certainly in the budget, in the time constraint. We then go through it and give it back to both sets of academics and say, this is very good, but have you thought about fine-tuning it here, expanding that? So you have, in effect, 2 runs at the application program. Once the applications are fully in and the budget is developed, we then set up a appointments panel, in effect, of between 5 and 7 independent academics who have nothing to do with the Kuwait program, who have nothing to do with Kuwait, who have nothing to do with the academics who've applied for the grants. And they mark these applications on value for money, intellectual innovation, policy relevance. So they're marked across a full spread of policy relevance, value for money, and innovative thinking. And those marks from each of these people are amalgamated, and then the top 3 proposals win. They're told about that. The Kuwait program steps in and helps them to develop a budget, which would have research assistance in it, travel in it, publications money in it, and then that goes on usually for 2 years. And at the end of it, you'll have different types of publications. The publication we've just discussed, short, pithy, straightforward, to ministers, to policymakers. This is the problem, and this is what we suggest might be the solution. Then longer academic papers that in great depth say this is a literature review, this is a hypothesis, this is the background. So you have those 2 types of publications. So if you're a young Kuwaiti academic, maybe applying for tenure, trying to develop your career, you'll get 2 things out of a successful grant application, or 3 things out of a successful grant application to LSE's Kuwait program. You'll get money to do your research. You'll get partnership with globally renowned LSE academics. You'll get policy-relevant publications and our support in developing them. And then you'll get depth academic publications that will help your career develop. So I think it's a win-win-win situation. And I would strongly encourage Kuwaiti academics to look at our website, look at our program's aims, look at our themes, and then say, is this for me? It might not be for them. And then contact us and we can say, that's a really interesting topic. Have you spoke to Professor X or Professor Y in this department or that department in LSE? We can introduce you to them and they can then help work with you to develop a joint application that uses Kuwaiti policy relevant problems as case studies for both of them.
And there is an avenue through which the researchers can disseminate their research. This arena is similar to the conference that you are attending right now, that you have facilitated. How often do such conferences happen, and are they planned to be in Kuwait? And what if you can describe the environment and the atmosphere in the conference, like today's conference?
Brilliant. So there are 3 avenues, I think. Firstly, when the if a visiting fellow comes to LSE, we will host them and encourage them to present their work in progress to academics. Secondly, we will help them network across British academia and beyond. But the most productive and exciting vehicle is the yearly Kuwait Program Conference hosted at KFAS in Kuwait. So as is unfold, we're running a conference on delivering excellence in healthcare. So the conference opened last night with a keynote a lecture from Professor Alistair Maguire, who's a world expert on health delivery, but also health insurance. He gave a fascinating lecture looking at the Kuwait experience in health in insurance, which, as we know, is very much in the news at the moment. Then looking at global examples and the pitfalls that other countries have fallen into, and saying, with all due modesty, he said repeatedly, I'm not an expert on Kuwait, but I am an expert on global healthcare insurance. This is what I would suggest. So then today we've had a conference all day, and it really makes me both happy and proud that the vast majority of the presenters at the conference today, run by KFAS in Kuwait, have been either LSE grant holders or LSE visiting fellows. So what I see unfolding in front of me all today is the value added that LSE has directly given to Kuwaiti higher education, to Kuwaiti research, to Kuwaiti academics, but most importantly to something crucial to all Kuwaitis, the delivery of better healthcare. And so we at LSE, taking the support and generosity of KFAS, have helped generate knowledge from global experts at LSE to help Kuwaiti academics say to the Kuwaiti government, Minister of Finance, Ministry of Health, you could do this better, and this is how you can do it. And if you'd been at the conference today, you'd have seen an audience full of people from the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health, Kuwaiti practitioners, Dasman Diabetes Institute, all sitting there, taking notes, intervening, saying, that's a really interesting idea. Have you thought about this? What we've had this today and yesterday is a very intense and productive exchange of knowledge around one of the most crucial policy problems for Kuwait, for Britain, for the world.
So, Professor Dodge, if I can ask, if our viewers want to read samples, summaries, executive summaries, or even full-length publications that came out of the Kuwait program, collaborative research, where would they go to find out this research?
I think that's a great question. The first Kuwait paper that we published was in 2009, and it was on regulating the Kuwaiti economy. I'm just trying to find the numbers that I counted up yesterday. I do believe that we have published 79 papers written by Kuwaitis and global experts on issues, relevant policy issues that need solutions for Kuwait, and they're all on our website. And then your viewers can work out from 1979 to 2024. From 2009 to 2024, whether the reports have got more interesting, whether they've got better, whether they've got more policy relevant or not, but they've certainly got more numerous. And they're all interacting with policies which are with issues that I assume are central to the everyday lives of Kuwaitis. And what we're trying to help Kuwaiti academics do is find solutions to those problems.
And these research outputs are all available free of charge on the website?
That's exactly it. Open air, free of charge. They can download, if they want to, they can download all 79 papers and read them all back to back. But what I would suggest is you look through them all, say which is the most interesting. I'll download one of them, go slowly and read. And I think I am so proud of the diversity of world-class scholarship driven by Kuwaiti academics based at Kuwaiti universities trying to sort out problems faced by Kuwaiti society.
Wonderful. I wonder if you can give us some advice to the younger population who form a significant part of our audience fixed in Kuwait. are skewed towards the younger. There are many undergraduates starting off in social sciences. There are many secondary school students that are aspiring to be experts in social sciences field. What advice would you give them in selecting what field of study to go into?
That's a fascinating and difficult question, and I must immediately, as a good social scientist, recognize my own bias. So I'm a social scientist, not a natural scientist. I'm a political sociologist, so I work on sociology and politics. So obviously I would say, come study politics and sociology. But what I would say is that I think, for me, so I've been working in academia, my God, probably 40 years now. And every morning I wake up, and sometimes in the middle of the night, and I'm interested. I always keep I always keep a notebook by my bed. So if I wake up in the night, I've had a thought, and my wife, what are you doing, for God's sake? And that's the point, that what I do really interests me. It keeps me awake at night in a good way. If I'm going for a run or on the train, I've had another thought. Now think about that. Think about a young person coming up to 18, thinking about the 3 years they're going to do as an undergraduate, the 1 or 2 years as a master's student, possibly the 4 years as a PhD student. What's going to keep you awake at night in a good way? What's going to get you reaching for your notepad on the train or a breakfast? I'll just have a thought. That's the thing. And it won't be always. I can't understand why, but it won't be politics or sociology. It could be economics, healthcare delivery. It could be physics or geography, chemistry. But you need to look within yourself and say, this is going to be your undergraduate years are some of the most fulfilling, intense, generative of your life. What's going to really grab your imagination, grab your attention, and build the solid basis, the basis to the rest of your career. So choose carefully, but ask that central question: what excites me? What keeps me engaged? What really? Some people it's volcanology. It's looking at volcanoes. Some people it's chemistry. Some people it's biology, healthcare. It's hugely diverse. But the central issue is that excites me. That grabs my imagination. I can talk to people for hours about it because it's really interesting.
Thank you for the passion in answering this. Perhaps if I can conclude with a question about the future of the Kuwait program at the LSE, what you see, you envisage as the future of the relationship between the LSE and Kuwait through KFAS?
Well, I think every time I come to Kuwait, I'm always struck. It's always lovely to be here. I'm always taken by the beauty of the Gulf, by the friendliness of the people. But like any country, by the policy problems that any state faces, Kuwait faces them, and I'm always struck by how LSE can help. And we're lucky, I think, that KFAS and the Kuwaiti government recognizes that we can help. And so there's a constant dialogue. It's a dialogue of equals. And it's a dialogue of ideas, of policy solutions, of recognition that nowhere's perfect, and of recognition that social science can help solve problems. So we have 4 more years of the current contract going forward. And in those 4 years, I think this is crucial, there will be a constant throughput of Kuwaiti academics coming to LSE, teaching LSE academics about Kuwait and LSE and Kuwaiti academics sharing knowledge. And then there will also be a constant throughput of LSE academics coming to Kuwait and working on mutual issues that need policy solutions. That's the future. If that can keep going, I think it's always intellectually stimulating to be in KFAS, to be in the KFAS building, to discuss. There's always an intellectual and policy relevant ferment here, which I think is superb. And so I think as long as that goes on, as long as KFAS is crammed full of smart people who want to find policy solutions, as long as Kuwait University, Gulf University of Technology American University, Kuwait, or as long as all these universities are full of young, bright, hard-working Kuwaiti academics who've been very well trained. I think the quality of Kuwaiti academia I've seen over the 10 years I've been working with the Kuwait program go up and up. As long as that is there, then whatever the relationship between LSE and Kuwait, it will be a productive, mutually stimulating exchange of ideas, policy solutions, and fun. I think the policy research, social science research, is at base stimulating and fun. And I think that's the last takeaway for young people. Become academics and enjoy it.
Professor Toby Dodge, Professor of International Relations at the London School of Economics and Political Science, and the Director of the Kuwait Program at the Middle East Center at the LSE. Thank you so much for your time. I want to thank our dear viewers for their time and attention. And please look out for future episodes of KFAS podcast. Thank you for your time.